I am N. Ravi, social science teacher. My qualification is MA B.Ed. Since 21 years, I am in the teaching field, working as a social science teacher in the CBSE. Today, I am going to teach grade 10th social science, understanding economic development. In grade 10th, social science consists of 4 branches. One is geography, second is history, third one is civics, and the last branch is the economics. In grade 10th, under economics, the first chapter is about the development. From this chapter, the detailed information which we will learn from today's lesson. So today I am going to teach economics chapter 1, that is about the development. Before going to learn economics chapter 1, that is about the development, let me explain what are the main objectives of this chapter. The first learning objective of this development chapter is knowledge, and the second learning objective of this economics chapter 1, that is about development, is the understanding. The third learning objective is application. The fourth learning objective is the skills. Let me explain each learning objective in details. From the development chapter, students are able to get the knowledge about the concepts of national income, per capita income, and the role of government in the public facilities. This detailed information students will get the knowledge from the development chapter. Under the second learning objective, that is about understanding, students are able to understand the differences between the World Bank and the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, and also students are able to understand the differences between the developed nations, developing nations, and the underdeveloped nations. And the third learning objectives, application. Under this, students are able to calculate the national income of a country. Students are able to calculate the per capita income of a country or individuals. At last, students are able to locate the states which are having the highest literacy rate in India and the lowest literacy rate in India on the political map and the outline map of India. And also students are able to locate the states which are having highest per capita income and the lowest per capita income on the outline map of India. These are the 4 learning objectives of this chapter. And we are going to learn now about the learning outcomes of this chapter, that is about the development. After completing this chapter, students are able to describe the conflicting and mix of goals, which means after learning this chapter, students are able to explain about the developmental goals of a farmer, developmental goals of a girl, a developmental goals of a landless labor, developmental goals of a rich person, and others. And also students are able to analyze how countries are compared on the basis of income. So generally we know very well that the world countries has been divided into 3 major categories, that is the developed countries, developing countries, and underdeveloped countries. How these countries are divided into developed nations, developing nations, and underdeveloped nations, thus students are able to explain in details. The third learning outcome of this chapter is students will be able to differentiate between World Bank and UNDP. What are the functions of World Bank and what are the functions of UNDP? and what are the differences between the functions of World Bank and the functions of UNDP. And at last, the learning outcome is students will be able to explain why sustainable development is a big concern in development. These are the learning outcomes from this chapter that is about the development. And now we are going to learn what are the topics which we are going to learn from this chapter that is about the development. First one is introduction about the development. Under the introduction, we are able to learn the basic concepts about development, definition of development, and the features of development and other related information. And the second topic which you are going to learn from this chapter is what development promises different people, different goals. That is the third topic. And the fourth topic is income and other goals. Fifth topic is national development. Sixth topic, under the development chapter, you are going to learn about how to compare different countries and the states. Then the seventh topic is income and other criteria. Eighth topic is public facilities. And the last topic from this chapter you are going to learn is about sustainability of development. So these are the main topics which you are going to learn from economics chapter 1, that is about the development. So under the first topic, that is about the introduction about the development. So development, generally we know very well, we everywhere and sometime in every place we can hear the word development. So development is a continuous process and it is a comprehensive term which includes increase in real per capita income, improvement in living standard of people, reduction in poverty, illiteracy, crime rate, or comes under the development. So development is not only a increase in the income of a person, not only increase in income of a country, and also there is a development in the living standard of people, which means by providing health facilities, then people lifespan will be increased from 50 years to the 70 years or from 60 years to the 80 years. Like that, increasing the lifespan of human beings is one of the part aspect of the development. Second is reduction in poverty. Under this development, the poverty is one of the important aspect. If large number of people are living under the below poverty line, then we cannot say that the country comes under the developed category. If very less number of people are living under the below poverty line, then we can say that the country comes under a developed nations. So that is why based on the poverty, we can easily divide the countries which are comes under the developed nations, developing nations, and the underdeveloped nations. And the third criteria for the development is illiteracy. So wherever the 100% of literacy rate is, then automatically the areas will get the development within the short period of time. And wherever the development, that illiteracy rate is less, then the areas will take many years of time to get the development. Best example, in India, the states like Bihar and Kerala. Kerala is having the highest literacy rate in India, that is 100%, but Bihar is having the lowest literacy rate. So we can compare these two states, the development between the Kerala and the Bihar. So like that, here development is basically depending on the income, depending on the living standard of the people, poverty, illiteracy, crime rate, and all these are a part of the development. And the features of development. Different persons have the different developmental goals, which means every person has his own goal, developmental goal. Being a teacher, my developmental goals are to get more salary and to get my children's a good education and my developmental goal is my students should get very good marks in the final examinations. These are the developmental goals of a teacher. Like the developmental goals of a farmer are different, the developmental goals of a landless laborer are different, the developmental goals of a girl is different, the developmental goals of a rich person are different. So like that, individuals have their own individual developmental goals. This is the first feature of the development. Then the second feature of the development is income is a major component of development. Yes, basically everywhere, every development requires the income. Without income, we cannot see any kind of development in a country, in a state, or in a district, or even our home also. That is why for the first step of the development, income is essential. With the income, there are many other aspects are required. One is the freedom, security, equity, growth, efficiency, stability. All these are comes under the social and economic goals. Under the economic goals, income is the first factor, and under the social goals, freedom, security, equality, growth, efficiency, stability, these are comes under the social goals of a person, a nation, a state, or the individuals. Now we will learn about developmental goals of a farmer. So generally we can expect that a farmer's developmental goals are the first developmental goal, that is about the more crop production. Every farmer is expecting to get more crop production from his agricultural field, because the farmer is having very small land holdings. In his land, small land holdings, he is going to use the seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, and many other inputs. So by using all these inputs, and finally he is expecting the more crop production, then he wanted to get some profit from his agricultural crop production. So this is the first developmental goal of a farmer. And the second developmental goal of a farmer is whatever the crop production he is getting from his agricultural field, then he should get a higher price in the market for his agricultural crop production. This is the second developmental goal of a farmer. Then the third developmental goal of a farmer is he should provide a good education to his children, because he is basically depending on the agricultural sector, but he don't want to see his children should work in the agricultural field. He wanted to see his children in the best position and the better position. That is why he wanted to provide a good education to his children. That is the third developmental goal of a farmer. And the fourth developmental goal of a farmer, after providing a good education to his children, he wanted to see his children should settle in the abroad, which means in the rest of the world. So these are the four basic developmental goals of a farmer. Then now we can see the developmental goals of a landless laborers. We know very well, landless laborers means the laborers, the workers who are working in the different areas without any their own lands are called as the landless laborers. So generally in the agricultural field we can see the large number of landless farmers. They do not have any their own lands, but they are working in the agricultural sector and they are earning every day 200 or 300 like that daily wages. So under the goals of developmental goals of landless laborers, the first developmental goal of a landless laborer is more days of work. Generally landless laborers are getting work in a week 4 days or 5 days. Sometimes in a week only 2 days they will get the work. That is why their first expectation is they should get work in each and every day, that is in all 30 days in a month, all 7 days in a week. That is the first developmental goal of a landless labor. And the second developmental goal of a landless labor is wherever he is working, there he should get a better wages, means more wages instead of getting 50 rupees per day. So he is expecting to get more than 200 rupees per day because he is working from dawn to dusk, from morning 8 to evening 6 o'clock. So that is why their expectations are more than 200 rupees and more than 300 rupees in a day. So that is the second developmental goal of landless laborers. And the third developmental goal of landless laborers is that is providing a good education to his children's or her children's is the third developmental goal of landless laborers, because they don't want to see their children should work in the same field. Whatever the problems they are facing in the field, they don't want to see their children should face the same problems. So these are the developmental goals of the landless laborers. So we are able to understand the developmental goals of a farmer are different from the developmental goals of a landless laborers. Now we can compare these two developmental goals of a farmer and a developmental goals of a landless laborer from this screen. Here the developmental goals of a farmer already we have learned, and developmental goals of a landless laborer also we have learned. Once again we can see the differences between the developmental goals of a landless laborer and the developmental goals of a farmer. So the developmental goals of a landless laborer are he should get more days of work, he should get better wages, and he should provide quality of education to his or her children. These are the three basic developmental goals of a landless labor. And under the farmers, the basic developmental goals are: one is the getting more crop production, second one is higher prices to his agricultural crops, and children settle in the abroad and providing a quality of education to his children. These are the developmental goals of farmer. Now we can see the developmental goals of a rich person. The developmental goals of a rich person, the first developmental goal is higher family income. Means his all the family members should get more wages is the first developmental goal of a rich person. Then the second developmental goal of a rich person is to provide a quality of education to his children is the second developmental goal. And the third developmental goal is to settle their children in the abroad, in rest of the world is the third developmental goal of a rich person. And now we can see the developmental goals of a girl. The first developmental goal of a girl is that is equality. Because in a family, if there is a boy and a girl, then generally family members, father and mother, will give the importance, more importance to the boys than the girls. So that is why the girls are generally expecting the equality with his brother from their parents. That is the first developmental goal of a girl. Then the second developmental goal of a girl is liberty. Because whatever the work they are doing at home, and always the parents are restricting them, being a girl you should not do like this, you should not do like this. So she don't want to listen such kind of restrictions and instructions from their parents. That is why liberty is the second developmental goal of a girl. And the third developmental goal of a girl is the freedom to go everywhere like boys, and to behave according to her wish, and to select the educational qualifications or professions whatever she like according to her wish. That is comes under the freedom. So these three are the developmental goals of a girl. Now we can see income and other goals. Money or material things that one can buy with it is one factor on which our life depends, but the quality of our life also depends on non-material things. Means generally we are thinking that the human being's life is basically depending on the money and materials, cash are kind. But not only the cash and kind, there are many other factors are affecting on the human's life, that is to improve the quality of life, or basically depending on the money, but many other factors like literacy, that is education, health, and many other factors are affecting on the quality of life. For development, people look at a mix of goals. A safe and secure environment may allow more women to take up a variety of jobs or run a business. These are the different developmental goals in the society, because we cannot say that only the income is the main factor under the developmental goal. There are many other factors. We can see income is the basic factor, but there are many other factors are there in the life, that is equality, means the treatment of equal treatment in the society by avoiding the discrimination policy in the society, untouchability policy. Next, the third one is friends also essential. Then fourth one is that is security. Wherever we are living and wherever we are working, that security is required. And the next important thing is liberty is required. Wherever we are working, wherever we are living, without any restrictions, without any instructions, living freely and expressing our views and opinions freely is comes under the liberty. And also we can see one more thing, that is about the family members. So here we can understand income is one important factor, but the other factors, equality is essential, friends are essential, security is essential, liberty is essential, family members are essential in the part of human life. Once again we can understand income and other goals means for the development, not only income, friends, family members, security, and many other things are required. Once again we can learn the detailed information about the income and other goals. People desire regular work, better wages, decent price for products that they produce. Thus people in fact need more income. Besides income, they also need equality, freedom, security, and respect from others. In some cases, these goals might be more important than income because materials are not just enough to live. We can understand that in some cases they are very rich in the society, but they do not have any respect from the people. That is one case. In some cases the people are very poor, but they have very good respect from the other members in the society. Like that, wherever we are living, there we should get respect from others. We should live without any restrictions, that is with freedom, liberty, equality. So then only we can say that there is a all-round development in the country. Now we can see national development. National development is nothing but the country's development. The development of a country is known as the national development. How can we say that the country's development? What is the criteria for the calculation of the development of a nation? Generally, according to the international organizations, the development of a country is basically depending on the income, that is the national income, GDP, gross domestic product, and the per capita income of the country, and also literacy rate, poverty, health facilities, living standard. These are the aspects they are going to take into consideration into the calculation of national development. So we can learn the detailed information about what is national development. National development is the ability of the nation to improve the standard of living of its residents. Not only getting more national income, but also providing all kinds of facilities to the people, and by providing these facilities, improving their living standard is comes under the national development. It can be done by providing basic needs of livelihood to the people and providing them employment and many other facilities. Wherever and whenever the government is able to provide all kinds of public facilities to the people, like providing free education, providing free health facilities, providing employment opportunities, improving their living standard, like all these facilities wherever and whenever the government will provide, then automatically we can say that there is a development in the nation. Now we can see the other important factors which are depending on the national development. One is the increasing of agricultural output. Wherever the agricultural output is increasing, then we can say that there is a development in the agricultural sector. Almost all the nations are basically depending on the agricultural sector, that is about the primary sector. The developed nations are having very less percentage of population are depending on the primary sector, and the remaining are depending on the secondary sector and tertiary sector. Whereas in the developing nations and the underdeveloped nations, large number of people are depending on the primary sector, that is in the agricultural sector. Like we can take the India is the best example. In India, still 60 to 70% of population is depending on the agricultural sector. If we get more crop production from the agricultural sector or from the primary sector, then we can say that there is a development in the primary sector. We can see there is a lot of development in the agricultural sector from independence to till now. There were many changes happened in the agricultural sector. At the time of its independence, only a 50% of land was under the cultivation. Now maximum the 97% of land came under the control of agricultural sector. Wherever the wastelands are there, that wastelands converted into the agricultural lands. Irrigation facilities are developed by construction of the dams. Like that, the government taking different steps for the improvement of the agricultural sector, and at present our farmers are using advanced technology in the agricultural sector by using hybrid seeds, high yielding variety of seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, and many other new tools and the techniques in the agricultural sector. Thus they are producing the large quantity of crop production. So that is the best example for the increasing of agricultural output. This is the one important criteria for the calculation of development of a nation. And the second criteria for the development of a nation is eradication of the poverty. We can take the best example of our country. At the time of our independence in 1947, more than 70% of the people were under the below poverty line. But after getting independence, our government took many steps for the improvement of the people's living standard and eradication of the poverty. That is why the government is still providing the all essential needs with cheaper rates to the below poverty line people. So thus we can reduce it from 70% of the population who are living under the below poverty line to the 50%. Still 50% of the population in India, they are living under the below poverty line. So after 50-60 years we can come to the 20 to 30% only. Then the third criteria for the calculation of national development is increase in the national income by export of our goods and importing of goods from the rest of the world. Like that, in international trade, if the value of Indian exports are greater than the value of imports, then automatically our national income will increase. So when our national income will increases, then automatically the country also will develop. That is the one criteria. And the next one is increase in per capita income. When the individual's income will increase, then automatically it indicates the development of a nation. So these are the basic criteria for the development of a nation based on the increase in agricultural output, based on the eradication of the poverty, based on the increase in national income, based on the increase in per capita income. We can say that the nation is comes under the developing nation, developed nation, and underdeveloped nations. Now we will learn about national development features and other important concepts under the national development. So we can say that under the national development, development of roads is one of the important aspect, which means roads are the backbones of the economy. If road network is extended, then it is easy to export and import the goods, to transport the goods from one place to another place. That is why the roads are essential for the development of an economy. And the second thing is health facilities are essential. If number of hospitals has been established by the government under the central and the state governments, and if the government will provide facilities that is licensed to the private sector also for the establishment of hospitals, then we can improve the living standard of the people. That is, then the third one is the educational institutions. If government will provide large number of educational institutions like schools, colleges, universities, and many other educational institutions, then automatically people will get education and they will improve their living standard. Then income, country's income also increases, per capita income also increases. Then automatically we can see a all-round development in the country. And the next important thing that is about the national development indicators is the development of transport network, that is the roadways, railways, waterways, airways. By seeing these four, we can understand whether a country comes under the developed nations, developing nations, and the underdeveloped nations. That also railways, even the development of industrial sector, all these are the indicators of the development of a nation. Now in this topic we are going to learn about how to compare different countries or states. Comparing different countries and states, when we compare different things, they could have similarities as well as differences. The criteria we use depends upon the purpose of comparison. Usually we take one or more important characteristics of persons and compare them based on these characteristics. Thus, income is considered to be one of the most important attributes for the comparison between the different countries. National income of the countries are different from one to another. Example, we can take USA. The national income of USA is much higher than the national income of our country. The GDP of USA is greater than the GDP of India, and the GDP of India is greater than the GDP of Somalia and some other nations in the Africa continent. So like that, national income of a country is differ from one to another. Based on its national income only, the country's development is basically depending on. And the similarities, every country will get some income, but which is smaller or greater, it is depending on its exports and imports, and it is depending on the population, that is wherever they are working. If they are educated, skilled, knowledge, then the countries will get more income, and it will improve the all the facilities in the country, like providing free and compulsory education, like providing the drinking water facilities, electricity, construction of roads, construction of dams, and improving the agricultural sector, industrial sector, service sector. All these are basically depending on the development of a nation, that is income of a nation. Now we can see indicators of development. The indicators of development is, the first one is growth, Growth is the first indicator of the development. Growth means a little change, but it is not constant. It is a temporary change is called the growth. If growth will continue, then automatically there will be a development in the family, in the nation, in the society, in the state also. And the second is development is the second criteria, that is increasing, permanent increase in income is the second indicator. And the third indicator is the human development index, means change of human beings from the illiterate to the literate, from the unprofessional to the professional. And the fourth indicator of a development is the health facilities. These are the four indicators of the development. Now we can learn about what is national income, because the country's development is basically depending on its national income. National income is nothing but the GDP, gross domestic product. So national income refers to the money value of all the goods and services produced in a country during a financial year is known as the national income. The gross national income, gross domestic product, means it is the money value of all the final goods and services which are produced in a country during a financial year. So generally our financial year is begin from the 1st April and to end in the 31st March. From 1st April to 31st March, whatever the goods are produced in the primary sector, that is in agricultural sector, its entire value, and whatever the goods are produced in the secondary sector, that is in industrial sector, its entire total value, and the whatever the services are done by Indians and whatever the services are done by Indians in the rest of the world, its total value, together we can call it as the national income. So national income is the total income of a country during a financial year which runs from the 1st April to 31st March is known as the national income. National income also known as the GDP, gross domestic product. Once again, all of you understand, national income is nothing but the total income coming from the primary sector in a financial year from the 1st April to 31st March, and the total income coming from the secondary sector from the 1st April to the 31st March, and from the total value of services from the service sector from 1st April to 31st March. These three sectors total values together we can call it as the national income. I think everyone understood very clearly about the national income. Now we will learn about per capita income. What is per capita income? Per means the means of head, capita head, which means per head. Means individual income also called as the per capita income. Now we can calculate per capita income. How can we calculate the per capita income? For best example, I want to say we can take person A is earning 25,000 in a month, and person B is earning 15,000 in a month. Person C is earning 10,000 in a month. Person D is earning 20,000 in a month, and person E is earning 30,000 in a month. These are the 5 different persons earnings in a month. Now the per capita income, we should know that the per capita income can be calculated by the total income of the country divided by the number of persons, that is the total population. This is the general formula for the calculation of per capita income. So here we can take the total income of the 5 members, that is A, B, C, D, E, and the total number of persons are the 5. Thus we can add 25,000, it is the income of person A, 15,000 it is the income of person B, 10,000 it is the income of person C, 20,000 it is the income of person D, and 30,000 it is the income of person E. And there are total 5 members. So if we take the total, we can get a total 1 lakh rupees, and we can divide this 1 lakh rupees to the 5 members, then each person will get 20,000. This 20,000 we can call it as the per capita income, which means per individual income we can call it as the per capita income. Now we can see in India per capita income of selected states. Means not only in India, even in the entire world, the per capita income is different from one nation to another nation. In developed nations, the per capita income is higher than the developing nations and the underdeveloped nations. Even in India also, the per capita income is unequally and unevenly distributed on all the states. The best example we can see Punjab. In Punjab, the highest per capita income which we can see, that is 26,000, which means in Punjab each and every person is earning 26,000 rupees in a month. But in Kerala, the per capita income is 22,800 rupees, and the lowest per capita income is found in the Bihar state, that is only 5,700 rupees. It is easy to understand why the Punjab and Kerala states are having the more per capita income than the Bihar. Means there are many reasons. One is in Punjab the maximum of area is under the cultivation, and most of the farmers are depending on the agricultural sector, and water resources are available. That is why their income is increased. And in Kerala also they are very educated people and they are working in the different sectors. That's why their income is increasing. But whereas in the Bihar, it is the lowest literacy rate is found, that is maximum of the people, more than 50% of the population, they are living under the below poverty line and they are the illiterates. That is why their per capita income is very less in India. Now comparative data of per capita income and national income, and what are the main indicators of per capita income, national income in the different selected states. We can see the infant mortality rate. Infant mortality rate is nothing but the number of children die in 1 year, below 1 year of age. For every 1,000 persons, we can call it as the infant mortality rate. Once again, you can understand, infant mortality rate is number of children will die below 1 year of age. For every 1,000 persons, we can call it as the infant mortality rate. So in India, infant mortality rate is different from state to state. In Punjab, for every 1,000 persons, 49 children are dying in a year. And in Kerala, its infant mortality rate is 11, and in Bihar it is 60. In Bihar, there is the highest infant mortality rate because there the medical facilities are very less. This is the first comparative data from Punjab, Kerala and Bihar state. And second, the comparative data is literacy rate. In Punjab, there is 70% of literacy rate. This is according to 2002 and 2003 census, but now we can say that it is more than 85% of literacy rate in the Punjab. In Kerala, in 2002 and 2003, it was only 91% of literacy, but it has reached the 100% literacy rate. And in Bihar, in 2002 and 3, it was only 47, maybe it crossed 54 to 55%. This is the literacy rate in India from Punjab to Bihar, Bihar to Kerala. Now we can see the net attendance rate. Here we can once again we have to recall that literacy rate means number of people able to read and write in any language, we can call it as a literacy. So in Punjab it is 70%, Kerala it is 91, Bihar 47. They are able to read and write in any languages. Then the next thing is that is about attendance, net attendance ratio. Net attendance ratio is nothing but number of children attending to the school. In the primary level, we can call it as the net attendance rate. In Punjab, out of every 100 students, 81 are attending to the school and 19 are absent. In Kerala, 91 students are attending the school out of 100, and in Bihar only 41 students are attending regularly to the school and remaining 59 are absent. So these are the comparative data from the Punjab to Kerala, Kerala to Bihar in infant mortality rate and in literacy rate and in net attendance ratio. Now once again we can see from this table, Punjab infant mortality rate is 49% and literacy rate is 70%, net attendance ratio is 81%. In Kerala it is 11%, 91% and 91%. Bihar it is 60%, 47% and 41%. Now we can go to the Human Development Index. What is Human Development Index? The Human Development Index, we can say it in simple terms, that is HDI. HDI is a statistic composite index of life expectancy, education and per capita income indicators, which are used to rank countries into 4 tiers of human development. Human Development Index is nothing but the life expectancy of human beings. We can call it as the Human Development Index. Number of years a person is living is called Human Development Index. Basically, this Human Development Index is depending on the national income, per capita income, education and the health facilities and quality of food. These are the basic things are depending on the development of human life expectancy, that is HDI, Human Development Index. Human Development Index is different from country to country and the state to state, because these are basically depending on the facilities which are provided by the central government and the state government for the development of human beings. Wherever the governments are providing the quality of food to the people and education, health facilities, then we can see there is a more life expectancy, that is standard of living in the nation. Then examples include being well fed, sheltered, healthy, doing work, education, voting, participating in the community. All these are the indicators of Human Development Index. Once again we can see the indicators of Human Development Index. One is the life expectancy, which means number of years living. Then second is education. If a person is educated, then automatically his life expectancy will improve because he knows what to do, what not to do. Then third one is health facilities. If health facilities are more in the country, then the life expectancy will increase. And if the people are having a shelter, permanent shelter, and if they are getting protection from the natural calamities, also we can increase the life expectancy. So we can say that all these, that is life expectancy, education, health, shelter, are comes under the indicators of the HDI, Human Development Index. These Human Development Index are different from nation to nation. We can see from this schedule that USA, the per capita income is 35,750, which means in USA every person is earning 35,750 rupees in a month, and their life expectancy is 77 years. Literacy rate is 100%. Gross enrollment ratio is 92% and HDI rank is 8. Sri Lanka, it is per capita income is 4,390. Life expectancy is 74 years. Literacy rate is 91. Gross enrollment is 69. HDI is 93. Indian per capita income 3,139. Life expectancy is 64 years. Literacy rate is 61%. It is the old census. At present we have more than 87% of literacy rate. It is crossed near about 90%. And our rank in the HDI is 126. Like Myanmar rank in HDI is 130, Pakistan rank is 134, Nepal rank is 138, and Bangladesh rank is 137. Now the next concept is about the public facilities and services. This is one of the important topic from the development from economics chapter. Public facilities means the facilities which are provided by the government commonly to all the people in the country, in the state, in the society, are called as the public facilities. Public facilities are the facilities provided by the government to its citizens that are universally available regardless of the income. Means everyone is entitled to use the facilities which are provided by the government. Examples: roads are there, parks are there, dams are there, like water facilities is there. All these are comes under the public facilities, because government is the owner and the main motto of the government is welfare of the people. That is why government is providing these facilities to its citizens. Some facilities are essential for other basic services to be used, like electricity. Once again we can see the public facilities. The first public facility required for the people in a nation is transport. So there are four different transport ways. One is roadways, railways, waterways, and the airways. This is the public facility, and which is accessible by each and every citizen commonly without any discrimination based on the religion, caste, creed, and the income. And the second one is parks. Everyone is entitled to use the parks which are established by the government. And the third one is drinking water facility. And the fourth public facility is providing electricity. And fifth one is health facilities. And the sixth one is education under the government schools. Then roads. And the next facilities, that is the construction of dams for the development of agricultural sector. And also we can see many other facilities which are provided by the government. One is the establishment of hospitals at mandal level, PHC, primary health centers, and district level the main hospitals. Water facilities, sanitation, transport, parks, markets, education, banking, electricity, roads, all these are comes under the public facilities. Now the last topic which we are going to learn from this lesson are sustainability of development. We have learned in geography, that is under the resources chapter, that is sustainable development. Sustainable development is nothing but the development which cannot damage the environment is known as the sustainable development. Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs is also called as the sustainable development. Means all the resources are not renewable resources. Only few resources are renewable resources, such as the land, water, air, sunlight. The remaining resources are the non-renewable resources. Once we consume these resources, we cannot get, but it takes millions of years of time to reproduce such kind of resources. That is why whatever the resources are available at present, the resources can be used in proper way. That is by avoiding misuse and overuse of resources, and we can use the resources at present, and we can use protect the resources for the future generations. Together we can call it as the sustainable development. Under the sustainable development, India is the largest groundwater user in the world. Groundwater has played a significant role in the maintenance of India's economy, environment, and standard of living. So we have the large quantity of water resources, but in some areas this resources is misusing and overusing. If we continue this misusing and overuse of water resources, then the future generations will not get the large quantity of water. So that is why we should stop the avoiding and misusing of water resources, avoid the misusing and overusing of water resources. Then we can protect the resources for the future generations.